Alright, today we're going to do the buck bug or glitter bug or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of a hybrid pattern, I guess, but it's been a good one for me for summer steelhead, on the island here or on the Skeena tributaries. I got onto this type of pattern maybe like 15, 18 years ago. An old shop employee of mine, Josh Stevens, gave me a bunch to try. He was from the Maritimes, and they worked amazing. It's no secret, lots of guys using them, but this is just what I like to use, and I almost use it exclusively now. So let's get started. Tie them on these Ken Sawada salmon hooks, which are not available anymore, unfortunately, but my good old buddy Steve sourced some out in Sweden, I think, and we were lucky to get a bunch. But any really good hook will work well. Anytime I'm using deer hair, I like to use gel spun thread. I can really crank it down there. And I tie this pattern a little bit shorter than the hook length. For the tail, I like to use this Mirage tinsel. My buddy calls it the headlamp or the headlight. I'm not sure it really matters. Lots of guys use it with or without flash, but this is just how I like to tie it. Right around there is good, and then I'll give it a little trim. Usually about that long is good. You can go longer or shorter or no tail at all. I'm just going to wind up, get ready for my little green butt here. I've used these in brown, tan, all kinds of different colors. It doesn't really seem to matter. I do a bit of a double layer on that guy. Next we're going to do a few clumps of deer hair. This is where the gel spun really comes into its own for spinning hairs and things like that. Just a couple wraps on top. Pull. Let it spin around. Give it a push. You don't really need to pack it in too much like a bass popper, but pretty good. The trimming is kind of the most tricky part of this, and it just depends on how particular you are, because you can really spend a lot of time doing that. You can, like I said, you can pull. I'm pulling hard on that gel spun. I'll do one more. I'll do one more little guy here. Push that in. I think we're good. I'll just finish that off. Get ready to do some trimming. I usually cut my thread off there, and it just makes it easier to trim. I usually don't leave it in the vise, but just for this I'll do that. I usually cut them pretty tight. And I'll go around the four kind of edges to start, just to get some shape. Right? Good scissors are pretty helpful for this. And then just start to go around where the butt is there, and it'll start to show up. And you can use the butt as kind of a guideline of your taper. There's some guys, and I'm not one of them, that are unreal at this. They can do it in a couple of scissor chops and they're done with it. I'm not that great at it, but I get it done. They're not bad. And just tickle up the front here. Nice having a rotary vise for this, that's for sure. There, I can live with that. Made a bit of a mess. My wife doesn't like it when I do these ones. Then I'm going to just switch over to some black thread here. Retie that on. This is where I'm going to tie in my hackle. You guys were probably wondering where that was. And this is an old trick, but one that works really well. I've done it before where I tied it in at the back, and sometimes the hackle breaks and your flies toast, but I've never had one break this way. So just tie that in, double it back, trim the stem here, and I'm just going to take my thread and wind it back through my deer hair right towards my tag there. End up right about there, if you can see my threads right here. I'm going to take my hackle, give it a couple of wraps in the front, and then work my hackle back through. I'm going to take my thread and wind it up through the hackle up to the front. Trim that back. Some guys will just cut it, but it makes a great hackle and super durable. Then I just throw a nice little head on it, give it a whip finish, or two. A little bit of head cement. I've fished this pattern in low water, high water, stained water. I don't know, it just seems to work well, for me anyway. I've given it to other guys and they've had some success, but not as much as I expected sometimes from them, but you know, it's one of those confidence things, right? So anyway, there's the glitter bug or buck bug, whatever you want to call it. Just a good all-rounder. Tied in tan. Brown's good. You can switch the hackle up. There's lots you can do. But that's the way I like to do them. Thanks for watching.